Hello, my fellow gore horror besties. So, welcome to another episode of Gore Horror, where we dive deep into the darkest corners of crime, horror, and the grotesquerie. I am your host, Chelsea, and before we get into today's disturbing tale, I want to let you know that this episode does discuss sensitive topics that may be triggering for some listeners. I'll be talking about themes of violence, death, dismemberment, and trauma. So please take care of yourself and feel free to skip ahead if you need to. With Thanksgiving just around the corner, a time that is traditionally associated with family, food, gratitude, today's case is a chilling reminder that the holiday season isn't always filled with warmth and love. In fact, for one family, what started as a gathering of thanks turned into a horrific nightmare that would haunt their entire family forever. So grab your headphones, get some snacks, a drink, whatever you like, and prepare for a twisted Thanksgiving story unlike any other. But remember, listener discretion is strongly advised for this one. So let's get right into it. So this case is about a family called the Guy family. So they were in this picture here, that is Joel and Lisa Guy. And then unfortunately back in 2016 in Tennessee, Joel and Lisa were tragically murdered by their son in a very gruesome, disgusting way. And it's just horrible. And it's really sad of how this whole case just went, and the reasoning and everything like that. So I'm going to get started with the good old video. We'll talk about it and jump right into it. So go ahead and watch this video and I'll be back soon.
A man faces first-degree murder charges in the deaths of his parents in West Knox County. Authorities have taken 28-year-old Joel Michael Guy Jr. into custody. Guy is a college student in Louisiana. The Knox County Sheriff's Office called the crime scene gruesome. Investigators say the parents suffered multiple stab wounds and were dismembered. The Sheriff's Office says the couple was last seen Friday. WBIR 10 News anchor Kendall Morris joins us from West Knox County, where the couple's remains were found in their home Monday.
Investigators say they received phone calls from people who work with Lisa Guy on Monday, asking them to go check on her because she didn't show up for work that day. They came to this house on Golden View Lane only to find what is being described as a gruesome crime scene inside.
Just horrifying. Think the quiet neighborhood where everyone waves at each other and willing to help each other. This can happen on our street. It's just hard to believe that can happen.
In the small cul-de-sac of Golden View Lane, neighbors stood outside Monday night wondering why crime scene tape and law enforcement filled their neighborhood in West Knox County.
No one had any clue. Watching everything unfold with neighbors, speculating ourselves, trying to guess.
Neighbors watched as investigators went in and out of Lisa and Joel Guy Sr.'s house. A hazmat team arrived later Monday night.
We started figuring it out that something very tragic had happened. We just didn't know the extent.
It would be described as horrific, a very gruesome crime scene.
Sheriff's officials say they found the remains of the guys inside. Investigators say Joel Guy Jr. stabbed, cut up, and placed the remains in an acid-based solution to destroy evidence.
Some of us have seen scenes like this. They are very, very rare. It's in the 1 percentile of homicides in the United States that involve mutilation or dismemberment.
Investigators are still working to find a motive.
I don't think anybody can imagine to the extent of the horror that went on.
But for the people who live close to Golden View Lane, the crime scene tape that remains is a reminder of the neighbors they lost.
Everyone just needs to come together and pray for the family and everyone that knows them and give support any way possible.
Joel Guy Jr. was taken into custody yesterday in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That is where he's believed to be in college there. Officials expect to bring him back to Knox County in the next few days. Back to you.
Let's just jump right into it. So, as you guys saw, the victims were unfortunately Joel Sr. and Lisa Guy. They were a married couple. Joel was 61 and Lisa was 55. Their son, Joel Guy Jr., who was 28 years old, was the one that committed this heinous act. So this took place on Thanksgiving weekend back in November 2016. The primary motive behind the murders appeared to be financial gain. Investigators believe that Joel Jr. planned the murders to gain access to his parents' finances, particularly their savings and their retirement funds. But it was later revealed that Joel Jr. had been struggling financially, and he was planning to dismember his parents' bodies to cover up his crime to make it harder for authorities to identify them. So the murder happened on November 26, 2016. Joel Guy Jr. Killed both of his parents inside of their home in Knoxville, Tennessee, and the details of the crime were gruesome. Authorities reported that Joel Jr. had stabbed and dismembered his parents' bodies in an attempt to hide the evidence. Guy Sr.'s hands were removed at his wrists and left nearby the exercise room floor. Lisa's head was removed. He cut his mother's head off. He carried it downstairs and placed it in a pot on the stove and heated it up. At the trial, though, the forensic examiner testified that the head was not just severed, but broken off with force. Disgusting. I can't with this guy. Both victims also had their arms and their legs dismembered. Guy Sr. at the waist was cut. Lisa's legs were cut off at the knees. Their limbs and torsos were placed in a bin full of chemicals. He made a homemade acid-based solution to try and get rid of their bodies. He was trying to just dissolve them, essentially, and it was unsuccessful. So he ended up having several cuts on his hand. His dad fought back from what they were saying. He went to Walmart, where he was caught on camera at approximately 3:30 p.m. at a Walmart purchasing bandages, ointments, and wounds. He also got alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. He was trying to tend to his wounds himself, but he ended up going back to Baton Rouge to have his wounds treated at a student clinic. But he was arrested on Tuesday, November 29th at approximately 3:45. They arrested him at his residence in Baton Rouge. He was arrested by the FBI of New Orleans Division Baton Rouge Safe Streets Task Force and the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office for his alleged involvement in the murder of his parents. So then that's when the investigation began, where they were looking at what happened, who, why, what is the motive, like to confirm the motive. And his family had invited him over for Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you invite your family over and you want to have a nice, lovely Thanksgiving. They wanted to spend some time with their child. He had premeditated this murder, though, and after that weekend, there was a lot of wellness checks on them. As you heard in the video, she didn't show up to work. They had a wellness check. They got to the house, and that's when they found the groceries. Lisa had just returned home from groceries prior to the murder, and all the groceries were still sitting at the door where she had set them. And the investigators said that they were just shocked. It was a disgusting scene. Some of them have never seen a scene that bad before, and that kind of thing. But they knew that it ended up being, they knew that it was the son. So investigators found evidence that Joel Guy had been planning the murders for quite some time, because he had purchased things like disposable gloves, plastic containers, and chemicals in advance to dissolve their bodies and destroy any traces of the crime, which he did a horrible job of. And he also searched online about body disposal methods and how to avoid being caught for murder, showing a clear intent to cover up his crime. What he obviously didn't understand was that you can erase your Google history, but that shit will still be found out. They will still find it. So the trial and conviction, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder of the deaths of his parents, and the case didn't go to trial until 2020. So he was just hanging out from 2016 to 2020 waiting for a trial. But during the trial, the prosecutors presented evidence that Joel Jr. had been motivated by greed, wanting his parents' money, supporting his lifestyle. And they highlighted the gruesome details of the dismemberment and how he tried to destroy his parents' remains. That poor jury that had to sit there and listen to just those gruesome details, which is similar to the ones that I gave you, but I'm sure that during the trial it was way worse. They were probably showing the pictures and things like that. I'm not showing any of that stuff. I'm not going to show, like, I'll spare you the gory pictures of that. I know this is gore horror, but I don't want to disrespect a family like that of showing their dismembered body parts, essentially. But you can look it up. It is on Google. But then, the defense has to come in here, and they went with the whole insanity plea. So he's mentally ill, arguing that he was not fully responsible for his actions. However, they found evidence against him that was too overwhelming for them to go with the insanity plea. So in 2020, Joel Guy Jr. was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and charged of abuse of a corpse as well. So he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He will spend the rest of his life where he belongs. Absolutely where he belongs. So some key aspects of this case were just the grisly nature of it. The murders were particularly shocking because it was a brutal way in which this 28-year-old guy just brutally disgustingly murdered his parents, the people who loved him and raised him, and I'm sure they were financially, maybe they would have helped him. I don't know the family, so I can't make that judgment. I don't know what led up to it. Maybe they were cutting him off, maybe something, but bro, you are 28 years old. You can get your shit together and take care of yourself. And so that's just a huge tragedy. The case, it highlights the disturbing reality of family violence, where the perpetrator was someone who was supposed to be close to the victims. Joel Jr. betrayed his parents in a horrific way and then treated their remains as if they were just disgusting garbage. And it is so sad to me. And I feel for the rest of the Guy family. I don't know if he had any other siblings, if they had any other kids, like what the deal is with that. I don't think we'll ever know truly the full motive or what happened. But he definitely had been planning it, so I wish that we would know, like, what led up to it. Were they having a disagreement? Were they cutting him off? Like, what caused this? Like, what just makes you think that you are entitled to your family's retirement and life savings that they work so hard for, when he could have gone and worked just as hard for any of that. And it's just shocking. The whole entire community was shocked. The family was shocked. And just the brutality of it is just really sad that it was driven by financial greed. And it's so sad. I can't imagine, but I'm so glad that family got the justice that they deserve. And that he will never walk the streets ever again. He'll never get to have a family. He doesn't deserve any of that stuff. He's where he deserves to be. And that is all I have for you guys today. Another just horribly disgusting, tragic case. May they rest in peace. I hope that they are getting some peace up there, and their son, that's not even considered their son at this point. He's just a monster. So I appreciate you guys for staying tuned for another episode of Gore Horror, and I will see you guys all again soon. Thank you.